Hi class! So the purpose of this video is to explain the assignment for the midterm. In this midterm assignment, you will write a short essay where you will analyze the use of the rhetorical appeals, similar to how you did for essay number 3. However, instead of reading an essay and analyzing how a writer uses ethos, pathos, and logos, you will be looking at a few images and explaining how the images portray ethos, pathos, and logos. It's really important that before starting this midterm, you review the rhetorical situation page and the rhetorical appeals page as a review so you remember the terminology and how to assess and analyze these specific appeals. It's also important to remember that once you start the exam, you must complete it in one sitting. You cannot refresh the page, nor can you return to it later. Consider drafting your essay on a separate document and copying and pasting it into the text box in case you experience any communication or connection errors. Below you will find the rubric that I will be using to grade your essay. These are the things that I'm looking for in this midterm exam. An introduction that provides sufficient background, a clear thesis statement that states which images you are analyzing and what your claim is and what your rationale is. Your rationale should include a detailed analysis that engages with at least one, but no more than two of the images to justify your argument. You clearly explain the appeals, ethos, pathos, and logos that the image uses, and you provide concrete examples from the images to support how the appeals are being used. You also provide specific, well-supported examples of the rhetorical situation, audience, purpose, context, writer as well. And your paragraphs are focused, and they use topic sentences and transitions between one paragraph to the next. And finally, you have an effective conclusion that stresses the significance of your argument. Overall, the total amount of points you can get is 100. Please make sure to review the rubric before, during, and after your writing of the midterm so you can just double check that you are hitting all these marks. So I would consider using this as a checklist almost. As soon as you write your introduction, do you provide a sufficient background? Does your thesis statement state which image you're looking at and why that image is, showing ethos, pathos, and or logos? Those sorts of things, right? So use this midterm as a rubric. As far as submission details, again, I recommend that you type out your essay on a separate document and then just copy and paste it into the text box that I will show you in a second. You're not going to have to format this in MLA in any way. You should have indented paragraphs, and I should be able to tell the difference between your introduction and your first body paragraph, but you do not have to use MLA, so don't worry so much about that now. All right, so here is the midterm. Let's review this together. The title of this midterm is called Kanye West's Campaign Manager. Context. When Kanye West announced that he would run for president as a third-party candidate, no one thought he would become a serious contender. However, with every successive poll, Kanye has gathered a substantial amount of support, and it seems more and more likely that he could very well become the next president of the United States. Now the general election is right around the corner, and while support for Kanye has grown across the country, he still needs help shaping his public image so that Americans feel confident in their next potential leader. Because you have been studying rhetorical appeals, you have been tasked with choosing the image that will represent Kanye's campaign. This task is important and will set the tone for Kanye's entire political run. The image you select from the 6 below will be used in his website across all social media platforms to represent his campaign. So select the image carefully and be ready to justify your choice using the rhetorical vocabulary we have been studying throughout the first half of this semester. Meaning you should look at ethos, pathos, logos. Ethos, pathos, logos, discuss the rhetorical situation, and those sorts of things. So here is the prompt. Write an essay-length response to the following prompt. Which of the 6 images would be the most effective for gaining supporters and why? Alternately, if you think Kanye is an unsuitable candidate and you wish to sabotage his campaign instead, identify and analyze the image you think would be the most harmful to his political identity. So let's pause there for a second and review the task at hand. Overall, the prompt, this midterm assignment, is asking you to pretend that you are Kanye's campaign manager. And you have the responsibility of choosing one picture that we're going to see, the United States voters, American citizens, we're all going to see on Instagram, on commercials, on billboards. This is the image that we're going to see, and we are meant to be persuaded, right, by this image to vote for Kanye. So you have to look at one of 6 pictures and pick. So your responsibility is to pick the picture that will appeal to voters and persuade them to vote for Kanye. And you have to consider, will my voters be persuaded through his credibility, through emotion, or through logic? And that's up to you to decide. So what you're going to do is you're going to analyze 1, but not more than 2 of the images to justify your argument. Your analysis of the images must involve the use of logos, pathos, and ethos in the pictures and demonstrate your awareness of the elements of how the rhetorical situation of this hypothetical campaign will essentially persuade a voter. And here you'll be able to see the pictures. And you can blow them up here. So in this assignment, you will be selecting 1, but not more than 2 of the following images. And you are going to explain why this image is the best option for his campaign. Remember, though, that you are pretending you're Kanye West's campaign manager. So you shouldn't be saying, like, this would make the most sense, because you're mostly pretending that you are a campaign manager, okay? So put yourself in the campaign manager's shoes. If you believe that Kanye West would be a terrible president, then what you would want to do is pretend that you are on the opposition side or the opposing side, and you would pick the image that would potentially hurt his campaign the most. When you are discussing the images in your essay, you don't have to say the image on the top left, or you don't have to say like the image on the top bottom right. Just explain like what the picture looks like, right? So you should provide information as the background, like we see a flag, we see a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Explain Kanye's stance and like how he's holding that pen and paper. If you're providing a clear analysis of what's going on in the picture, you shouldn't have to say the middle picture on the top row, right? Be very descriptive when you're explaining the picture. So, the requirements. This goes hand in hand with the rubric that we reviewed earlier, but let's review the requirements one more time. When you're putting this essay together, you should have a clear introduction that provides sufficient background information for your readers to understand your subject matter. You should also present a clear thesis that states which images you're using and why you're using them. Your rationale should contain a detailed analysis that engages with at least 1, but not more than 2 of the images to justify your argument. You should, in your body paragraphs, discuss the appeals and discuss the rhetorical situation. Your paragraphs should have clear topic sentences and transitions, and a conclusion that doesn't just summarize the paper, but presents the purpose of the overall essay and provides an effective so what question. You will be submitting this assignment via text box, so please make sure to copy and paste your completed essay into this text box here. Again, it would be really prudent to type in your answers on a separate document and then just copy and paste them here so that you have, in case you come across any technical issues. Remember though that you only have 4 hours to complete this assignment. Typically, this shouldn't take you more than an hour and 30 to an hour and 40 minutes. So don't stress too much, but I'm giving you the extra 2 hours just to make sure that you definitely have enough time. Good luck!